Welcome to the Reiki Business Collective, where Reiki business owners come together to share information, support one another, and serve the world. Thanks for joining us. I'm Christian of Standing Stones Healing, interviewing and inviting Reiki business owners to join the conversation in the Reiki Business Collective Facebook group. Thank you. Welcome to this episode of the Reiki Business Collective. We are honored to have with us Stacy Piedrahida and David Oliver. Stacy left 27 years of traditional nursing in 2021 to follow her true calling as an energy healer. Shortly after becoming a Reiki master, she had a near-death experience that confirmed her path as a healer. She then experienced a spontaneous Kundalini awakening 7 months later. She now uses Reiki and Kundalini energy in herself and distance healing practices with clients across the world. David began studying Reiki at age 18 and has taught and attuned students at all levels as a Reiki master teacher, as well as offering in-person sessions in England and distance sessions across the world. He is also a psychic medium and neuro-linguistic programming practitioner, using a variety of techniques to help clients make positive changes and overcome challenges. David was gifted with healing energy from the Egyptian goddess Isis through meditation and experienced his Kundalini awakening. Stacy and David both own and operate Golden Zen Kundalini, offering distance sessions to clients anywhere in the world, and they are here to talk with us about Reiki business partnerships. Welcome, Stacy and David. Such an honor to have you on Reiki Business Collective.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you for having us. We're excited.
Yes, thank you. So please do tell us a little bit about Golden Zen Kundalini, what you do and how you do it.
David, why don't you start? I think people prefer his accent over mine.
The name Golden Zen Kundalini came from Stacy being very enthusiastic about using the name Golden. It encapsulates the brightness, the energy within what we're doing, and the Kundalini is the main factor that has created this new ambitious project that we have embarked upon, and we were trying to find something that fitted with it to kind of give it the bridge. And we were going to originally go with Golden Bridge because there's I don't know if anyone that through meditation uses a bridge. It's normally a transition from the current space to the meditative place to feel that you've moved on. But either way, that didn't seem to fit. And then I said, well, Golden Zen, because Zen seems to be a very good word to cover the vibe and the tone of what we're doing. So we agreed on that. And then since then, we've explored being able to use the enhancement of having the Kundalini energy within us to basically expand upon our skills as Reiki masters and distance healers. And we've just experienced an eruption of huge, warm, powerful energy that is very tangible and very present, but feels very comfortable to work alongside. And with the Reiki, the two seem to combine themselves very well together, and it just seems to make sense. And the sensation of self-trust and ability that is given us has been, I think, remarkable for both of us. But we've been very grateful for being gifted with this situation and having had similar experiences of learning Reiki by trying to understand what a person can do and focusing on that, but then having this other experience that we weren't necessarily even aware of could happen to us, but has happened to us. It's just added a whole new element to it that we feel now we've experienced it has a massive benefit to us. And we feel that whether we can encourage people to either help themselves or have help from us, and then we can teach them how they can develop their own spiritual paths. We just want to enable people to be aware of, or if they're already aware of, expand upon what they can already do and be their best selves, and get to a place where we feel we have found great comfort and determination, which I feel is a very important thing in this current time.
That is wonderful. Thank you. Stacy, would you like to add anything to that?
Pretty much agree with everything David said. We're mainly focused on truly empowering everyone to own their own authentic power, their own inner wisdom. So we incorporate a lot of inner child healing. We're doing a little things outside of the box. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. We're just kind of adding our own teaching styles and maybe think outside of the box when it comes to healing and healing yourself. A lot of fun, a lot of really good energy. And it's just an amazing place to be able to give that and show people how to utilize their own gifts. It's amazing.
Yes, that's wonderful. Thank you both so much for the work that you are doing. Tell us about how you got started working together and formed your partnership.
So I truly believe this was aligned in the stars. Ever since my NDE, when I went back to work, I was a clinical manager at a huge home health company, up for promotion. And I was recovering from surgery last year. And within 5 minutes of going back to work, I knew I couldn't be a nurse anymore. My heart wasn't in it. I was devastated. And so I started asking for more clarification. I got lost in God's country. I believe nature is my church. Take religion out of it. I was truly lost, though. So I believe the right person appeared at exactly the right moment. And I thought a couple months ago, I was really, really struggling because I'm like, all right, I want to focus on the healing aspect and the Reiki business, but it wasn't aligning. I was never meant to do this by myself. So I aligned with a couple of partners earlier this year that are both healers, wonderful, wonderful women. And I felt this is great. I'm aligned with my path, but I really, really wanted to focus on the Kundalini. After my spontaneous awakening, I was like, oh my gosh, this energy is life-changing, but it's very hard to explain it to someone who hasn't experienced it. And I've noticed that, especially after trying to tell people, hi, I'm one with woo-wooville now. I'm a little on the, the weird side of the spirituality, and no one was really understanding. So when I aligned with David through a healing session that I did with my old partners, he understood the Kundalini, and it was magic. It was just like I felt the person I was waiting for when it comes to like my career and my business. It was beautiful, beautiful alignment, a beautiful different energy that I've ever experienced. And it's been magical ever since. It was worth the wait. It was worth the wait.
That's lovely. David, how was it for you in that first session and that experience?
It was very much a spontaneous understanding, to be honest. I wasn't expecting it because I'd heard of Kundalini energy, but I was also very aware of the path that people normally take to achieve their awakening. Takes a lot of work, and especially a lot of understanding of yoga and all of the elements that come along with that to reach this state of, if you want to call it, enlightenment. And I reached it, I believe, from the healing that I had made a massive change in me, because I wanted it to happen. I wanted to make that change. I found what I needed to work on, and I achieved that. And once I'd released that blockage that I took a long time to try and find the root of it, and I found the root of it, and that's what was the key to the release of it. I understood what needed to be moved, and I was happy for it to be moved, and it did. And then once that space was made, it felt like, I feel that the energy underlying it had been waiting to have that opportunity to move, and it did. And as soon as I felt it rise up my body, it felt very strong, but it felt very comfortable and very familiar quite instantly, which was very surprising, seeing as I wasn't even expecting it to happen. But as soon as it kind of reached my full body and then started flowing, I just felt very much at ease and satisfied. And that has been the biggest thing for me, is I still have desires to do things, I still have ambitions, but I don't feel like I'm having to scramble to try and do them anymore, which has been a similar situation where I've always wanted to be in this mindset and in this space where I can still do things I have to do to make a life for myself and afford to be able to do things. But I've always felt torn between doing that and being able to really follow the path that I want to follow, because I felt you either had to give it all or not at all. But this has shown me that you can have that balance of both. You can work hard at the work, you can work hard at the playtime, if you want to call it that, but it's not kind of not, neither one is overtaking the other. And in the time that we've had outside of work, I now have a job where I either start at 3 in the afternoon or finish at 3 in the afternoon. So I have either side of that day to give me quite a large amount of my day to be able to dedicate to what I'm doing. So I have the best of both worlds. I'm getting paid, I can keep a roof over my head, but I can also develop what I'm doing with Stacey alongside it. So I'm not pushed to do either. And it's just, it really is so powerful but so calm. And that's the thing I find very strange, is sometimes when you have stimulating energies, you can be too much and you can either end up a bit disconnected and ungrounded because you get so kind of washed up in it, or you end up exhausted. And normally with energy this powerful, you'd think after a while there would be some kind of adverse effect to it. But a month in, it doesn't seem to have happened. And I sincerely believe that it's not going to. And that is a miracle. As a human experience, you know, no matter what you call yourself, to be able to link to these things and then be part of your reality, and to just feel so comfortable with something so spontaneous and so grandiose in the grand scheme of things, is very unique experience. It really is. And you always think, you know, you always have an experience that sometimes you think, I've had healing before and I felt great, but then maybe the day after I've slept on it, or while after, I felt that my energy is depleted and kind of crept back to where I was, because that was the place I was at. But this has made such a monumental shift that I know that I'm not there anymore. I'm far away from that. And being able to speak with confidence, I mean, I've always been happy to talk and speak my truth, but I feel I'm so much more at ease with it. I feel there's energy behind it, but I'm not trying to rush it anymore. That's a really prominent change in my personality. And yeah, I would be interested to look back at this in a year's time and see where I am then compared to now. It's going to be very interesting, but it's just purely beautiful. It honestly is. That's the only way I can really do it justice, I think. I said, like, it's a sublime energy with a purely natural tone to it.
I call it unconditional love. Just unconditional love. That's what it is.
For others. To learn to really love yourself and be comfortable with yourself is a massive step. And yeah, I just very very grateful for having been able to make it.
That's wonderful, David. Thank you for sharing that experience with us. And I want to ask more about, then what happened. But first, I really want to emphasize something that you said that I think is really important, because so often when we are considering starting a Reiki business, we do have this idea that it's all or nothing. I'm all in. I'm just doing the Reiki thing. I'm just doing the healing thing. And I'm doing that to the exclusion of other things, where we don't have to do that. And as a matter of fact, oftentimes it's a good idea to not do that. And so, David, I really want to just acknowledge that, because what you said is very important, I think, for people to hear and to understand that, if you are working in another capacity, it doesn't mean that it makes you any less of a Reiki practitioner or any less committed to helping people. It means none of that. It means that we can indeed do it all as our experience. So, David, I just want to say thank you so much for mentioning that. I think that's really important to mention.
I just wanted to make a point. If you look at the literal translation of Reiki, life force, spirit, that is in everything. It is the energy behind everything. And I think, with it, our human logical minds like to define things. We need a logical steps. And I find a lot with the achievements, we must do the hand positions in this way, we must do this, we must do that, because there is a level of respect that has to be given to the practice. but don't let yourself get too bogged down in that. Practice it and do it well. But the point of practice is for something to become natural. Once it becomes natural, you can still do it, but you can still let your mind be aware of other things as well. And that's one thing I've learned is, practice and practice till it's second nature, and then let yourself expand upon it.
That is really great. Thank you, David. So, Stacy, what happened next? So you had this session with David and you felt the synergy, but you were working with another group of practitioners. So you originally had one partnership or a group that you were all working together. And then you met David. What happened after that?
So we had our session, and for some reason, David and I started communicating a couple days before our sessions. I'm the one that, posted in your group, and I started, reaching out to people, confirming their appointments. Him and I just started talking, and it was very organic, beautiful friendship. And so we just started talking and talking and talking. And then when something happened, when the girls and I decided to separate, David and I were talking about it, and I don't know, it seemed like the most logical step. Normally after something like that had happened, I would have been very negative and I would be like, I need time right now. But honestly, I stepped out of my comfort zone. I took a risk and I just went with how I was feeling. I liked the way I felt when I talked to David, especially when it came to the Kundalini energy aspect. And it just made perfect sense. It's almost like the universe said, all right, dum-dum, here you go. Because I started developing signs and I'm like, I wasn't listening to the signs. I was getting mixed messages. I truly wasn't following my heart. And I was just going with, no, I want to heal. I want to heal the world. Let's do this. Let's move forward. And I was starting to get physical manifestation. I was starting to get sick. I was exhausted. And I was like, something's not right. And I really needed to take a step back and put my health first. But David and I formed a friendship, and it just organically just said, this just makes perfect sense. It just makes sense. I didn't understand it. I'm just like going with it.
That's great. I love it. I love it. So talk to us about the way in which you two operate. So how do you operate with a partnership? So if someone is listening and they're saying, oh, wow, I never considered operating a Reiki business with someone else. I never considered a partnership. What an interesting thing. But how do I do it? How might someone go about forming a partnership and then offering Reiki sessions to others? How does that work?
So let me say something real quick, because for me, in order to form a partnership, you have to take your ego out of the building. I'm sorry, bottom line. You have to stay focused on your heart, set your intentions. And if there's egos involved, it's truly going to be ugly. I have to be honest with you.
Well, I think the first step that really kind of helped us begin this kind of equilibrium was I actually offered some healing in return to you, didn't I, Stacey, to help you? Because after we'd had the healing session, the situation that she was in dissolved, and we were both quite adamant that, we're like, we don't want anybody else. We are going to work on our own, and that's going to be it. And then Stacey was needing some energy work herself, so I returned the healing in the favor, and she felt what I could do. And I think that made quite a remarkable impression on you, didn't it? Because you felt it and you're like, okay, I get it, because even though I know what I'm talking about, sometimes you have to experience it to fully trust it. But either way, that happened. And then it was about a day or two later, we both thought, well, it's like, when you meet a friend and can not see them for a few months to a year, and then you'll get back together with them and you just carry on like nothing's happened in between. That's the kind of feeling it is with us. There's no like, oh, I need to do this, I need a partner, oh, let's do this. It's like you hear it coming out of your mouth and you think, oh, okay, so that's happening. And that's kind of how it was. There was no ulterior motives, both things happened, and we both said pretty much almost spontaneously, didn't we? I think we were both thinking the same thing, and then I think I said it, and I was like, well, would you consider doing it? And the first you kind of Stacey thought about it, and then not too long after went, yeah, why not? Let's try. We're both in this situation. We've both got this going on. And Stacey said, well, I've got a few people that I feel need healing that I can approach and ask if they'd be willing to let us do an exchange for a review, do a session for them. So we did, and it just always seemed to align. There's always just the right time of day to be able to do it. When they were available, we were available. We had the time and space. And what we've done, we've seemed to have created this kind of initial setup where there is a beautiful piece of music that helps to ground and protect you. I think we could send a link, can we, so people can listen to it and appreciate it, because I think everyone would like that. And it just puts you in the right place. And then Stacey recommended that we create a link with the person that we're working with in the spiritual space as an equilateral triangle. So we're all sat at a corner, and then we consciously send love, green heart energy between all three of us to create that connection. And then whilst we're doing that, me and Stacey do the jazz hands. We both put our hands up like that. And
the magical wand.
And the magical wand. It's like we are literally sat next to each other in the room, isn't it? We can feel the energy
Crazy.
between each other. That's when we know we have the connection. Yeah. And then it's almost like, I say it's almost like kind of channeling, but I think it's channeling our own higher selves. We are asking other entities to come in and assist, whether angels or guides or archangels, specific things we feel are right at the time. But otherwise, we just send our consciousness to the person. And the way I envision it, I believe Stacey does a similar thing. It is like we are stood next to them, like we're doing a face-to-face session. And with the energy that I was gifted originally through the meditations from meeting Isis, it's enabled me to feel like I have a sensation. I explain Reiki, it's like a magnetic sensation, isn't it? You can feel either a pull or a push or a bounciness. To me, it feels like I can see within my mind and within the energy where the heavy negativity is in the person, whether it's in their head or their body. And I'm able to almost put my energetic hands, it's like a surgery, into their space and move my hands. Sometimes I'm literally twisting, and like when you're trying to pull a tooth out, you kind of gently do it until you catch it, and then you're able to move it without too much difficulty. It kind of comes loose. Sometimes I literally just cut it out. Sometimes it's like I feel like I'm kind of gathering a blanket, like a really big blanket, trying to roll it up. It's kind of almost liquid, and I kind of have to cut it, ask the light to take it away, and then carry on the next bit. And once I've made the space, then I replace it with full golden healing energy to fill the void and help it heal. And that's the way that I operate. Stacey, I think, does the same, but I feel that in some ways she has more of a metaphysical way. She works very much, calls in the angels, uses a lot of the violet flame a lot of the times, and is able to envision those things. So there's almost a semi-physical and a semi-metaphysical combination. I think that's why we work so well together. I've never really thought about it like that, but that's what makes sense to me. And between us, we both do our bits and pieces. And there's sometimes I'll say, can you help me with this bit whilst I do this bit? And we do that. And we just, we normally got our eyes closed. You don't necessarily need to, but it helps. But there's times when we do it through a Zoom video call, so we can look at each other and be like, yeah. And we just don't have to say anything, but we know.
Yeah.
And then again, by the time an hour's gone by, it's felt like 10 minutes of that, but we've done a lot. There's been times with the NLP where I've integrated as a process called anchoring, where you get yourself to a certain point of relaxation or satisfaction or happiness, and if you repeat a process like putting your two fingers together like that, something that you might not do it regularly but intently remember. And then when you're feeling that feeling and doing that hand gesture or whatever it is, your brain associates that movement with that feeling, and eventually you feel a link with it. So if ever you come out of the session and you feel like you're not in a place you want to be and you want to go back to that space you were at, you can do that movement and your brain goes, this movement means this feeling, and you literally feel that way again. So we helped a person integrate the happy feelings that they had, amplified them, as much as we could, then got them to anchor it, and then with the energy they had, got them to put it back into themselves. So it's almost helped them learn how to heal themselves. This is what I mean by teaching people these little things that they don't have to necessarily study, but they can understand that outside of the sessions we have, we can enable them to do it independently, so they understand they're empowering themselves.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So, yeah, that's basically the process. And then after that, we speak to the person, see how they're feeling, and then check up on them a while later to make sure they're okay. And then say, well, if you want more, then hopefully, do come back, because we feel that we don't want to have people keep coming back, because you want to heal people as soon as possible. But life happens, things happen. Sometimes it takes a bit of practice for a thought pattern or feeling to become really ingrained into your regular psyche. So we have made plans with a variety of things from just the individual sessions, but we've got different ways we can use the energy in different ways and different aspects with the NLP to help with specific things, whether it's relaxation, confidence, grounding, releasing of things. We're utilizing it all together, and that's why I feel the Kundalini works, because the same with the Reiki, it's within everything. So it's a very broad tool, but we are trying to not tie ourselves down too much, but create a kind of niche package, because people need to see what we do, and as you know, through being able to talk about it, hopefully understand what it is, why it would be good for them to have as a service, and then hopefully want to come and use us for it. But we feel that we haven't really seen any other people who've had a similar experience like this. There may be some, and if there are any listening, then please let us know, because it'd be interesting to see how people who are not necessarily been on the path of trying to discover Kundalini may have had a similar experience, because it'd be good to see the correlations or the differences in it.
That's great, David. Thank you. And I want to say that I could feel the energy as you were just describing the process. So that's exciting and wonderful. Thank you so much. So when you are working with someone else in a partnership, Stacy told us, get the ego out of it. What other recommendations do you have, or even recommendations for things to watch out for and pay attention to? So if someone is thinking about forming a partnership, what else should they be thinking about?
You have to be totally transparent. You have to be willing to be completely open and honest with each other. Put everything out on the table, and because things are going to pop up. If you got the skeletons in your closet, you have to be honest. You have to be honest and be willing to be vulnerable. Be willing to be vulnerable, because you're growing this together. And as long as you stay aligned with your heart and you're true to yourself, I believe you could be successful in anything you do, especially with a partnership. Absolutely.
Running upon that, I would say with the honesty, there's been days when we've planned to do things and I've just gone, I'm in this situation and it's not something that I want to do. And Stacey's and go, well, we're on the schedule, we have to do this. We're like, yeah, okay, something's happened. So we allow for that, because we aren't being lackadaisical about it, but we understand that if someone needs a bit of time and space to do something, then they do so. It's a different sensation again. Before, I think with businesses, normally like, I have to strike when the iron's hot, I have to do this at this time, etc. And it's always kind of, you're always trying to hit the target, but you're not sure what the target is. Where with this situation, if you kind of set yourself the goal and you know where you want to get to, and you can both agree a time scale and a level of movement that you want, then it takes away that pressure sometimes, because a lot of the times people want to do certain things a certain way, and at first it seems like, yeah, let's do it, and then eventually, as time goes on, something might come along and put it off track for whatever reason, and it can be very difficult to. It's like selling a number one record. You release that single, if it's not hit the charts within a few days, it's dead and gone. Things are always a very quick come and go, where with businesses, you could want to be number one and you may get lucky, but through the businesses I've seen grow, you see when it's at its best, But what you don't realize is some people have been going for 10 years, maybe even more, trying and trying and trying and trying until eventually they either get enough attention or they get a reputation or they happen to get enough money to promote themselves. And then suddenly they get there, and that's all you get to see. So if you're not successful within 6 months to a year, don't think it's because you're not good at what you're doing. Just be aware that at the moment, especially, there are, I don't know how many thousands of alternative practitioners, newly formed coaches, artists, writers, filmmakers, business people doing, things with NFTs and all that kind of stuff. Suddenly, we've had 2.5 odd years of being held back. And even though there are still the dangers of the things that have happened, a lot of that has gone, and now everybody suddenly feels like there's a freedom to be propelled forward. But there's a lot of people wanting money spent on their business, but there isn't a huge amount of money going to be spared on things that aren't essential at the moment. So, don't stress yourself out about it and try and enjoy it. If it's stressful, then unless you really, really want to do it, just let it go for a bit and then come back to it. Because if you get blinded by desperation, then you end up creating mistakes or, doing things not quite the way you want it. And it's quite obvious these days. Everything's so transparent and out there. People can see the difference between a good product and a bad product, or a good service and a bad service. And if you damage your reputation by doing something half as good as it should be, it may be difficult to recover, because once people know who you are and they see you, it's difficult to backtrack. And I think because I've had that attitude, and same with Stacey, we haven't done it because we want to become millionaires. We have to make money because it's what people used to trade with, and that's the black and white of it. But we're not doing it to be money minded. So I think if you do something because you're passionate about it, it definitely helps. If you're just training and stuff because you want to make money, I mean, we could go out and buy a load of homeware stuff. We could buy paint or paintbrushes or toothbrushes, stuff that we know people are just going to buy and sell, and we could probably make some money from that. But that's not what we're wanting to do. So yeah, we do want to be successful. We want to have money to be able to expand our business and do more and help other people. But that's not the initial point of what we are doing it for. So yeah, I think I feel we're successful already, because look at the smile on our faces. Obviously, the other people can't see this, but we are happy in what we're doing, and that is what it boils down to.
David, you said something that is really so important that I want to make sure we point out, that we have this idea oftentimes culturally of the overnight success, and that we just open up our Reiki business and within 6 months we have full-time clients, and it's just clients all of the time. And that's the idea that we have. But you're right, David. So often we don't realize all of the work that went into getting to that point, and that it's not oftentimes an instantaneous kind of thing, but rather takes years of work and years of putting yourself out there. And so people oftentimes get discouraged because of that. So David, I really appreciate your words of encouragement on that. That is really important to point out. So thank you. So as far as working together and a partnership, how does it work logistically? Like, let's say, for instance, with the technology and the marketing and all of those behind the scenes kinds of things. We understand how it works for you with the sessions, but what about all the other stuff that goes along with a Reiki business?
Well, we are building upon that at the moment. We've started off with working on the website, because that is your shop window at the end of the day, isn't it? On the internet, people are going to look at the social media, and with things like TikTok and also Facebook, it's always a quick flash in the pan. Here's a few seconds of your time and attention, and then you have to try and encourage people to look further into it. So you expand upon that on the website. So we've been building that, learning as we go along what we want to go in there, how we want to arrange it, all the practicalities of leading people through the website and from page to page to make it as easy an experience as possible. And then at the moment we are recorded a video kind of explaining a bit of an abridged version of what we're talking about, to say who we are, why we do it, why we're excited about it. And then we're going to create little snippets of conversation going, hi, this is us, this is what we're doing, this is how it can help you, this is how you can get hold of us. Enough to give someone information without people getting bored before going on to the next thing. We're also looking at the Meetup app, because that seems to be quite a popular platform where you can talk to anybody all over the world and arrange groups specifically to get people to come and talk to you. So we are looking at doing demonstrations, also doing kind of little snippets of just general helpful information for people, guided meditations, little things that people can take away and enjoy themselves without needing to spend any money, but will hopefully show people our skills and our abilities and encourage them to then want to go further with exploring what we can do and hopefully use our services on a more long-term kind of situation. And we are literally just crafting that at the moment. So you have to really utilize a lot of the different ways of doing things and be present on as many platforms as possible. So we are looking at the practicalities of that, the scheduling, the cost, and everything that comes with it, to encourage things to get as much of an audience as we can online. We're also looking at doing face-to-face things. Obviously, I'm thousands of miles in England, where Stacey's over in North Carolina in America. But we're looking at going and representing ourselves and our business there. And we're hoping that when we get into a situation where we can afford it, maybe Stacey will come over to England, or I'll go over to America, and we'll have actually meet each other, because that's one thing. It doesn't seem so strange, I suppose, these days, because people all over the world talk to each other. But it's been very interesting, especially in my eyes, to form a friendship and such a bond with someone that I haven't actually physically met and been in the same room as, but feel like I've developed this friendship and partnership with very strongly. And yeah, and also being able to speak to yourself and have whoever's listening around the world to this podcast and be able to hopefully interact with us and get in touch with us. Yeah, it's been a very interesting journey, and we are learning the ways to do things. I've spoke to a few people that do business advice, and I've looked at a lot of business advice groups and seen what the best ways of doing things are, and collated that information. And then we're going to an action plan and go, well, this happens, this happens, this happens, and then kind of stage so we are keeping things moving. But again, like I said, not putting pressure on ourselves to get anywhere too quick. It's not the right time, because we don't want to burn ourselves out.
Right. And if you can't be at your best, if you're burned out, how are you going to be helping others? So that is so true, David, as well. Thank you for that. Do you each say, okay, I have this skill in this, so I'm going to do this? And, oh, I'm good at websites, so I'm going to do this. Oh, I love Instagram, I'll do this. So do you have that kind of divvying up of duties? Or is it more just like, hey, we'll do whatever we do?
It's been a bit of both, really. Like with the building of the website, Stacey's been doing the actual inputting of the information. I've been finding the information that I want put in, and we've been looking at things together and collaborating with screen sharing over the internet, so I can see what she's doing and make suggestions and say, well, I think this might work like this. And then she said the same thing. We come to a kind of happy medium. We've both got time to put information up on social media. We're making kind of still pictures of things that relates to sometimes overall things like the chakras, for example, what they mean, what they relate to, how you can keep them healthy and things like that. We're also, I've very much been paying attention to things like the moon cycles. We've had the Lionsgate portal situation and things that we feel have affected us, and we are understanding of the effects of. So we are making plans to, when those things come around, to specifically talk about those relevant things at the time, so people have something they may not have been aware of before or may not know much about. So yeah, we're trying everything in a very relaxed way, but we've got a structure behind it. So we are going to be able to keep on track with it, but we've got to give ourselves a bit of space around it to adapt to what we want to do and also what people are going to want from us. Because I feel as we are going to move ahead with things and meet more people with different levels of understanding, knowledge, and need for help, then we will cater for their needs depending on what we know, or if there's things that we need to learn or expand on, then we'll make sure that we do that as well to remain helpful to people, really, and to keep on expanding our knowledge, because we still don't know everything. We still have a lot to learn ourselves, and there's still a lot of different people with different perspectives and understandings to meet. So we're going to try and do as much interactive things as we can. We've got a whole a boot camp kind of package where we offer some healing sessions, we offer some meditations, we also offer a group meeting where, you know, it's kind of like a casual thing where people can just talk and get to know each other as people, not necessarily focus on the spiritual, but just on the social aspect, and grow that way and create a cultural growth, conglomeration of different people from different places to get to know each other. Because I feel that's an important thing, again, with you being able to use technology, is that people can talk to people that they probably never have met otherwise.
Yeah, that is wonderful, David. Thank you so very much for all of that. So Stacy, you know, David's just telling us about the technology, the technological experience of it. What's your thought on that, Stacy?
I think I might have found the cure to ADHD. I'll be completely honest with you. All I know is just being focused and working on the website. I said to my husband, has truly helped, because I'm usually after my awakening and my NDE, I was very scatterbrained, and it's not like me. I mean, I'm sorry, but when you're a nurse, you really need to stay focused. And that's one of the reasons I couldn't go back to regular nursing in my career. So I'm finding with this ADHD, I'm learning how to work with it. But let me tell you that I have to give a shout out to David, because I mean, my brain, I'm like trying to stay laser focused, and everything kept going wrong. And I'm like, oh my God, I was getting frustrated. And he's like, take your time. I'm a true Sagittarius. And I'm like, my God, I would have killed this person a month ago. But he was very, very patient with me and the ADHD stuff. So I'm very grateful for that. But technology is not, definitely not my friend, but I'm learning more about myself working on this website. Definitely.
Yes, that is wonderful, isn't it? You know, so many ways that we get to learn about ourselves through the business, and ways that we didn't even expect to learn about ourselves, and things that we didn't even expect to learn, right?
I'm like the little sponge. I tell everyone I'm like the little, I'm like the, you know, the little engine that could. I'm going into this, and same thing with my old partners. There was nothing negative. I took all the good, everything that I learned from them. If it wasn't because of them, I never would have found out about the higher heart chakra. I didn't even know that existed. So, you know, there was never any, you know, it's always, you know, what can I learn from this situation? What is this trying to teach me? And I'm learning the most about myself during this time. It's amazing. It's amazing how much I feel like I'm growing. It's amazing. It is.
Wonderful. I love it. That is so great, and so true, that we really do learn and grow, not only through Reiki, but through having a Reiki business. So very true. Stacy, would you like to offer any parting words of encouragement, any thoughts or advice to people who are considering a partnership?
I would say, I mean, obviously we're always evolving, we're always healing, but I would truly say get to the point where you truly love yourself. You truly love yourself and you're confident in your abilities and you're ready to go to the next level. Because if you're going into something with such uncertainty, there's going to be a lot of things that are going to come into fruition. So I would definitely make sure you're truly at a point in your healing that you're ready to step out of your comfort zone.
As we've been going through the website building, some of it's just been intuitive, hasn't it? I mean, there's been times when we've been like, oh, I don't know how to do this. And then suddenly I'll go, oh, you just do it like this. Or Stacey just starts clicking something and it just suddenly works. And we're like,
I can click buttons.
And it seems random, but there is something definitely behind it all. Yeah, I'm getting excited from that. The energy, like, don't forget that, again, even if you don't fully understand it or believe in it, ask your guides and your helpers and your inspirers. Speak to your Reiki master, because I've found a lot of people will do the attunement and then won't really continue a relationship with them. And then they're asking other people. I've seen it a lot. Going, oh, how do I do this? How do I do that? And like, surely your teacher and master should have those answers because they've enabled you to be in this position. So don't forget that you can do that, even though it may be difficult to get hold of them or they may not be always available. When you're a master or a teacher of somebody else, it's generally expected that you can maintain that connection. So don't feel worried about it. Reach out to them because you've had probably the most deepest energetic connection, I suppose, with them attuning you to it than you're going to have with nearly anybody else. So cherish that friendship. And if you need they've got to the point where they've had you come to them as a client or as a student. So they've obviously been doing something right because they've managed to go through that process with you. So, don't ask them for every single secret because, there are some things that are personal, but don't be afraid to ask. That's my main advice.
That's great. Thank you for that very much. And finally, Stacy, if people want to get a hold of you, if they want to learn more about you and what you do, where should they go? What do they need to do?
So Stacy Piedrahida on Facebook, Stacy Piedrahida on Instagram as well. And goldenzenkundalini.com is our website. It's up. It's ready for the most part. It's good enough for both of us right now. So that's pretty much it.
Perfect. Thank you. And David, where can people reach you?
My business page for myself is David Oliver Spiritually Being. And we have the Instagram account, which is golden_zen_kundalini. And we have a Facebook group that we are setting up, which is set up today, which we're going to start putting content into. That you can find a link to through our Facebook page, which is simply Golden Zen Kundalini.
Beautiful. Wonderful. Well, thank you both so much for talking about your experience with a Reiki partnership. It's been an honor to chat with you about that. And just want to say thank you so much to everyone listening and sending blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, share, and join in the conversation at facebook.com/groups/Reiki Biz, BIZ. Blessings and best wishes for your Reiki journey.